Good morning, everyone. Nice big sigh. I'm here with little Hugo, and we're about to go out for our morning session, and I'm just going to talk to you about the mounting process. The passageway is a bit full up at the moment because Michael is busy repainting the jumps. So I just wanted to say that so many horses are not taught to stand to be mounted, and Hugo was definitely one of them. When you put your foot in the stirrup or stood on the block, he practically trotted out the yard. He just wouldn't stand, so it was one of the first things, but now I can get on him without even taking up the reins, and he stands still, perfectly still, and I can put my foot in the stirrup and tighten my girth, and I still haven't got the reins. I do everything quietly and slowly, but then I do with every horse, because it makes a huge difference, you know, the approach to mounting. If you've got kind of tension or anxiety or expectation and anticipation, the horse picks up on that and they just won't keep their feet still. So I think that's tight enough. I don't want to over tighten it. That's just fine. Good boy. Yes, so there's no hurry to be getting on with things, is there? We can take our time. It's lovely when horses realise that, you know, they can just stand and be patient, and there's nothing going to happen to them. They haven't got to be anywhere by a certain time. Right, and now we'll walk on. And we'll walk out steadily. Good boy. Okay, so now we're going to start our ride. I'll start discussing Hugo, who's an interesting case because well, you would say he's very green for his age, but for us that's a positive thing, because it means that nobody's really got to them. And we can put in place, we haven't got to undo loads of things if it were not done particularly well. So for his age, he is green, but within that there's an innocence. In fact, he appears to look at, and in his demeanour and way of going, an awful lot younger. But that aside, he has got a wonderfully unusual outlook on life, and more than many horses that I can remember, he actually wants to make changes. He really wants to make them, and he's letting go of that which hasn't served him well so fast, relatively speaking, which is just a joy. Now, like many horses, he was frightened of the stick, or even stroking his neck. So obviously, rather than teach him what the aids were, somebody's just used the stick. So if he hasn't gone, you know, he's got a whack, which just doesn't do at all, because he needs to understand that the stick isn't a threat. I mean, it's taken me a few weeks. We've had him a month now, I think. Yeah, I think it's a month. 3-4 weeks anyway. And it's taken me a good couple of weeks to get him to be okay with the stick. and to be able to use it. You know, and now he likes it. He likes it when I tap on him. He finds it supportive, and I can use it with the branches and things. We're a bit wobbly at times, but don't worry about that. That's all part and parcel of it. So the way the speed with which he's letting go of things is unusual, and he has warmed himself to everybody. We've used him he's been part of the last 2 courses mainly because he's very easy. He's an easy, kind, non-reactive little horse on the ground, and he knows absolutely nothing. So for the participants, rather than having a horse that did everything, you know, and has had a lot of groundwork, it's quite valuable for them to work with a horse that doesn't know it, so they can actually put into practice what we're talking about, you know, with the building a relationship, because this little horse hasn't had a relationship with anybody before coming to us, so it's all new for him. Now, he is a steady little fellow. He's not high energy, and he did have a nasal discharge and a cough when he first came, and so we're really only able to stay and walk. Oh, now he's stretching his head, that's good. So all the time, you know, I'm doing this little tap, 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 and I want him to stretch, because although he's a steady horse mentally and physically, there was a lot more tension, and like a lot of horses, he carried that in his neck. So his neck was overdeveloped in comparison with his body. The head carriage was very high, and just in the midpoint of his neck here, there was a bulging muscle, you know, and he really didn't understand and didn't have the confidence to lower his head. It was always up, far too high, and of course what happens then is, you know, it makes the horse hollow, and he can't use himself properly, and of course he can't walk out. Now, teaching him to walk out is still a work in progress. I mean, this is very early days, but he's getting better, because he does know that he can have all the head room he wants. So it's not essential for us to know their history, because the horse tells us everything we need to know, and this little horse is a little joy. He's just a wonderful little fellow that's always trying his best and works things out, you know, so he hasn't got a well-developed flight instinct despite his insecurities and worry when he came. He's a bit fascinated with droppings, and now that I can put the stick on him and encourage him and obviously stay off his head, because see, he'd rather do a little jog than walk out, but you know, we'll get there. So he shows me, without knowing his history, he shows me that he's been very crudely ridden, and that they didn't have any horsemanship skills, but because he was quiet, you know, he would attract probably riders that just wanted to use him, so to speak. But of course it was, I'm sure it wasn't a very enjoyable process for him or them, and I think he's very, very happy to be with us now, and to be properly ridden for the first time. So he's a lovely, willing little boy, but not really going anywhere. Which is he can appear quite looky. So this is why you need to get to know your horse and ride them as they are, and he kind of can gather himself up through his neck and look quite proud. But now I'm able to get my leg on him, and he's not frightened of the leg and not frightened of the stick. There's a horse calling. There's a horse calling down there. See, so then the head goes up and the nose points, because he hasn't got a mouth yet. You know, because they didn't make the mouth, they just pulled on the reins essentially. When he feels that contact, he likes to stretch his nose out and open his mouth. Oh, that chestnut's wanting his friend. It's okay, he's nothing to do with us. So he's got a full fly regalia on. Wonder if you've ever seen a horse in a fly rug. That's who he is. No, he's not worried about that. Come on then, well, let's go off. So when I did trot him between coughs, come on. We're not with him, we're together. Come on. See, this is where the greenness shows. You know, you have to sort of remind him of what's happening. And now I can click at him and he doesn't think that means go faster. So everything he thought was meant to go faster. So he never gets stuck or anything like that. You know, he doesn't plant, or he's a willing little horse. He's just a green little horse at the moment. But when you trot with him, what they thought was, you know, I don't know if they thought it or just let him do it. Go on, it's a cat. Thank you. Or whether they just let him do it. This is where, you know, I mean, I'm very quiet and gentle as a rider, but also very firm, you know. Horses have to understand that, you know, they've got some sort of leader on board that's going to actually ride them. So, when we did trot, it was fast and furious, and he wasn't really going anywhere, but you couldn't stop him either. So I've been working at the trot, using my body to balance him, because half of it was he'd be losing his balance as well as everything else, and just didn't know how to carry himself in a rhythm with the rider. So that again is a work in progress, and I've been working on that, as I say, with my body, the way I hold the reins, the way I rise. So now we have slowed it down quite a bit, and it's almost sort of a nice little jog now, which it's better to have that slowness, and I can ask for more length, you know, but after he's slowed down, because he needs to slow down, because when he slows down with his body, he'll slow down with his mind. And I can then adjust the stride, lengthen it forward. So this is the little jog he likes to do, and I make sure that, you know, the mouth will come. I make sure I don't have a dead pull. You know, I use my fingers and sponging the reins, and sponging one rein more than the other, in his case the left rein, and I find that is so with the majority of the horses, that the supported control is better. And just stand, good boy, and walking on, by using one rein more than another. No, we're going up here. See, it's lovely to be able to just tap him and he doesn't think I'm hitting him.